when they can identify with a character or a situation or even just a tiny moment in a book. It can mean everything. Hello, my name is Karys McEwen, and my new middle grade novel, The Paperbark Tree Committee, published by Text Publishing, is coming out on the 1st of April. The Paperbark Tree Committee is a story about a young boy called Art. He's in year 7. He's just started high school at a brand new school. His family's just moved from the Sunshine Coast down to Melbourne. And he's beginning school a little unsure of who exactly he is and what his place is in the world. But the whole book is framed through the relationship with his younger brother, Hilary, who Art and Hilary, they're best mates. They love each other. They love spending time with each other. But Art feels like he is starting to grow apart from Hilary a little bit. And the book is about being an older sibling and feeling like, as much as you love your brother, things are changing a little bit and maybe you're starting to have different interests than him, and the troubles that might come along with that. My first book, All the Little Tricky Things, was a female protagonist, and so it was just a matter of wanting to try something different and write from the perspective of a young male character. I myself am a school librarian, so I work with young boys, and I wanted to try and achieve that voice in my next novel. And the reason that I wanted to focus on siblings, again, in my first novel, the young character is an only child. Myself, I have a sister, and I wanted to explore sibling dynamics in those tricky teenage years, and particularly the dynamic of being an older sibling and wanting to be a good role model for your younger sibling, but not always getting that right and making mistakes, and what that looks like to try and make amends when you get things wrong. I'd really like young people to, if possible, take a couple of things away from this book. First of all, that they're not alone in any, difficult feelings that they might have about growing up, particularly about maybe not being ready to grow up. I think everybody grows up at different times, and changes can happen throughout the teenage years, and that looks different for everyone. And I really want young people to feel reassured that if they're not on the same timeline as their mates or their classmates, that's okay. And I also want young people to understand that in their lives, different adults and different mentors can support them in different ways. And so it's not just your parents, you might also have teachers or other adults, other grown-ups in your life that support you in different ways. This idea of found family, I think I wanted that to come across in the book. Writing for young people I think it's really important to get the authenticity right. And there's nothing worse than when you're reading a book for young people and you think, oh, well, teenagers don't really speak like that, or I don't think a middle grader would ever do that. And so that sort of genuine voice and the authenticity of the plot as well, I wanted to get really spot on, and it's difficult to achieve that. Luckily, I work with young people every day, so I'm surrounded by them and I draw on my students for inspiration. And I also just talk to a lot of them about their experiences growing up to try and add that authenticity to the narrative. My first book is All the Little Tricky Things, that came out a couple of years ago, also with Text Publishing. And that tells a story of a young girl called Bertie who has just finished primary school and is about to start high school. And honestly, she's freaking out. She doesn't feel like she's ready to grow up. So very similar themes to the Paperbark Tree Committee. But that story is told over the summer holidays before Bertie starts high school, as she works through a list of things that she's written that she thinks will help her feel more confident and more ready for high school. No, I'm not a full-time writer. I sort of do lots of different things within the children's book industry. So I'm a school librarian at a high school. I also work for the Melbourne Writers Festival as their education advisor. I do a podcast for the Victorian Association of English teachers, VATE. I work for the copyright agency with their teaching resources, and I write my own Substack as well. So my own newsletter, which is aimed at teachers and parents that are looking to put the right books into the right hands. So I do lots of different things within the children's book industry here in Melbourne and beyond. So yes, I'm very busy and I have a 2-year-old as well. So she also keeps me very busy. But for me, writing is something that I do because I love it. It's something that I don't try to force ever. I just do when I can and when I feel in the mood to write. And that has served me really well. It's something that I do for pleasure, similar to reading books as well. Do you go to school reunions or not? What a great question. So, I didn't go to my 10-year school reunion. I grew up in country Western Australia, and by my 10-year reunion, I was living over here. So, I didn't make the trip over actually. It's my 20-year reunion next year, and I actually would really like to go. Just last week, I went back to my high school in WA to speak about my new book, actually, to their year sevens there. And it was such a beautiful experience to be back in the library that meant so much to me growing up. And to think now that my books are on the shelves in that library is especially thrilling. So, to answer that question, I would like to go to my 20-year school reunion next year. I think that the role of writing and the role of books, particularly for children in 2025, is, as they say, either a mirror or a window. And for young people, especially for me growing up, actually, a mirror was the most important thing. I really like to see my own experiences reflected back on me. And I like to see myself on the pages of a book because it just made me feel a lot less alone. And I see that with the young people that I work with today. When they can identify with a character or a situation or even just a tiny moment in a book, it can mean everything. And I think as writers, we have a role to achieve that for our young people. But then the flip side of that is writing as a window, as a place for young people to read and develop empathy, to put themselves in the shoes of another character in another time, in another place, and have a better understanding of something completely removed from their own experience. I like to read as diversely as possible. I read a lot of children's fiction, obviously, because of my job, but I think I would be doing that anyway. And I love to take recommendations from young people because I'm interested in what they're reading. I also read a lot of adult fiction as well. So I try to read a bit of everything, really. But I do try and always support the local Australian book industry. And we're so lucky here with the brilliant myriad of writers that we have. So I do try and read as much Australian literature as I can. Judy Blume was the person that really honestly turned me into a lifelong reader. And it was because I saw myself on the pages of her books as a tween, as a young girl living in country Western Australia. Reading just made me feel less alone when I read Judy's stories about young girls, ordinary girls just going through really ordinary teenage sort of issues, arguing with your parents or having a bit of friendship drama at school or going through puberty. Reading about those things was really important to me as a young person, and I think set me on my journey to being a lifelong reader. In terms of writing, that didn't come until a lot later. I was always just a reader. I wasn't somebody that loved writing as a young person. I did it when I had to for school, but it wasn't something I did in my spare time. I was too busy reading, to be honest. And it wasn't until I was an adult working as a school librarian and a publisher approached me and asked me whether I'd ever considered writing something, given I was such a big advocate for children's literature. So it was a more unusual journey to writing for sure, but I'm so grateful for it. The thing that I'm trying to work on next is something a little bit older. My first 2 books were firmly middle grade, but I do have a desire to write for an older teenage audience and to write within the young adult readership. So I am trying to write something. The character is in year 10, and it's really challenging, especially to try and get it to be authentic. Teenagers speak in a very particular way. The way that they see the world is really unique. And so to get that right is a good challenge for me. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully I can hopefully I can get it done. Thank you so much for having me.